What's going on, guys? So I tried to make a video on this a couple seconds ago that I posted, and for some reason my voice was turning into a robot and couldn't hear me at all. So I'm going to go back over it here real quick. This is on the 15-minute time frame. This is Dash. This is a crypto. It's got a limited supply, 18.9 million. And, this is something that I've been in and I've played around with since it was down in the $35 level, believe it or not, which was way down here. And, unfortunately for me, because I bought it, I saw it at 35 bucks, wherever the hell that was, whether it was down here, I don't know. And I rode it up to about probably this peak here, somewhere in 150. And I got rid of mine, and obviously was not a good idea. Because I thought I was doing something great there. And I saw it come back down in the 60s. I picked up maybe one or two again, or 80s, whatever it was. And it ran up pretty damn good. And I sold it again, somewhere up probably, I don't know, 250 or something. I think I sold it at 250. And then since then it's came back down, and it's, creating these higher highs. And, even if this thing does run up as high as it could, I don't actually think that it would never come back down, per se, right? But one thing that I do like to do is take this curve and show the structure in the percentage, the structure and the percentage, or the chances of where it could drop when it was all done. So if it does continue to follow this curve here, it makes me wonder if this curve will actually, play out or not. It doesn't have to, of course, but what my expectations of it would be is that, if we continued to follow this curve, I could get rid of this other one here because this probably looks a little better. Then we could kind of see how low could this thing actually go when it does correct here. And according to that, if it came back down, it looks like, depending on when it would come, that the low, it would be around $140 or so as the next low when we get a big correction here in this market. Well, it could come down from a 120, somewhere between, there's no way to say when it's going to come down. But something that we were just talking about in my last video that obviously I had to delete is the importance of a green-red-green formation, which is, when it comes to candlesticks patterns and stuff, a green-red-green formation is a very, very bullish formation, which we just got on the weekly here, as long as we close this weekly candle as a, green candle here. So if we look on the daily, as of right now, I have all these lines here. I started with a fresh chart in the last video, and we're kind of going off. But I'll just go off of what I went off of. So I drew this massive triangle here, and you can kind of see where the RSI has been and what it's been doing. It's been breaking this line. When it breaks this line, it gets a massive pump, comes back down, tries to hold support, can't hold support, comes all the way back down, continuously does this. Recently, we got a beautiful pump out of here, way into the overbought area here, double topped, and came back down here. Now, where we are right now is we actually bounced off of this trend line here, and we're coming back up here. So, although it looks like maybe it could double top there, but if you look at the MACD, it looks like in a couple days or in a day or two, we're going to get a MACD cross, which could actually potentially push us up a little further. Now, if you look at the hourly here, obviously you can see that we're coming back down. And right now in the hourly, we're perfectly touching this trend line that it seems to like to bounce off of. Now, of course, it could come down to these lower levels here, but I feel like if it did, that, it would actually come lower than what we would think that it would. And by that, I mean, looking at this 4-hourly here, you can kind of see this channel that we were in, we broke out of. And if I ran these trend lines all the way across, every time we broke that trend line, we came up, double topped, came down, fell back into this channel. Came up, rounded over, couldn't hold support. Came back down into the bottom of this channel. And where are we right now? Came up, came back down, and we're trying to hold support on this trend line. The question now is this MACD cross that we're about to get going to push us back down to the bottom of this channel, which is very possible. And if it did, that would be around 223.31. I have this green box here at the bottom, support, as a potential area for it to wick through, which could come as low as 216, 217. But right now, although we've had some wicks below, as long as we don't get any type of hourly close here below 232.73, then we can maintain bullish structure. So you see here on the hourly, we got a spinning top here at the end. And what I was drawing out here on the hourly, based off of these couple wicks here, is a potentially falling channel, falling wedge. We'll have to see in a second when I draw some of these trend lines here. It looks like we are in, I'm going to go off of the first two wicks here and ignore what we have going there for the other wicks. So, right now it looks like we are in some type of falling wedge, falling channel, whether we draw it like that or we just draw it like this. I mean, we could go off of that recent as well. So we could go like that too. And maybe that would look a little better. So if we do it like that, then that would show that, we've been kind of testing this line here, but we've been buying back up and staying above this main trend line. So if it did follow all the way down here, it could go down to 229.94 and then get a break. But in my opinion, and what I'm feeling like, even though we do have some negative signs and some negative things that could push us up, I think that we might actually bounce off of this trend line at 233.19 roughly. And I think we're going to continue to hold this. But if we don't, of course, we can, like I said, we can come back down here. So the safest way to play this, unless you're already invested, would be wait for a break of this 253 area here, which I have up in this range. And what we'd want to do is we would see this break. We would want to see a back test, confirm that this thing is going to hold the support, and then we'd enter. Okay, so that's kind of the play, the trade setup. But if you are, investing in this thing, I would just kind of keep an eye on this level. My thoughts here, even though we have this potential 20 EMA coming to cross down, this 4-hour MACD coming to cross down, we have all of these moving averages converging here, and we seem to be continuously bouncing off this 4-hour 20 EMA as of right now. It could, of course, fall back down to those lower areas, but right now on the Ichimoku cloud here, we are getting support between this Ichimoku cloud here, which on the next 4-hour candle would be as low as 230. But I feel like we might get a break out of this area here. But obviously, it all depends on what Bitcoin does as well, because we know that if Bitcoin decides to, correct or something below its old all-time high, which is, I believe, 48,400 area. If it falls below that, then this was going to do a lot more damage, obviously, because that's what happens with altcoins. But as of now, even looking at the 45-minute, we're starting to continuously catch more support on this level at 233.07 to 233.19. So I am feeling like this is going to, even with these negative things coming in, hold here. We don't know for sure, but this would be the first time that it's been able to hold this level. So as of right now, it seems to be doing a very damn good job. I'm really curious and excited to see how this is going to work out. So if we look at the RSI here, it doesn't quite look like it's ready to bounce just yet on the 45-minute. On the hourly, on the 30-minute, it's been getting a few bounces here and there. But the main confirmation that you'd want to wait for is to see if this RSI is going to get a bounce or not. You can see it's starting to flatten out here on top of this trend line perfectly here. So if we can, in fact, get a bounce, whether we come up here, come back down, double bottom, and then shoot up, that's a potential as well. It's going to take a little bit of time, of course. But we do have some negative things coming in. The TD sequential, right now we are only at a 6 here, so 7, 8, 9, so 3 more candles, and then we could get a green candle depending on as far as the TD9 sequential here, or a reset. It doesn't have to get a green TD9, but it's very possible. So this is kind of the big moment right now for Dashcoin, in my opinion, to see if it's going to actually hold this bullish structure here. So if you look at the 4-hour here, it does look like it could get it did look like it could get a MACD cross here. But now that I'm looking at it, it's sort of looking like it might do a fake out here where it might not actually cross negative, and it could fake a lot of people out into selling and the weak hands into selling, while in fact it's actually gonna do something different. And the last thing I wanted to talk about here was this bullish setup here on the daily. If you look on the daily here, anytime that you have, most of the time that you have a setup like this, it's a bullish reversal setup here with this daily. Now, of course, if we do happen to continue to fall below this 230.88 level, then obviously this is going to change, the whole mentality of what this setup is, which is this bullish candle here as well as the spinning top. I always like to enter on trades that close a daily in this bullish setup here because it shows a lot for where it's going. So lastly, what I'll look at is the potential of how high we could go based off of the breakout of this falling wedge that we were in originally. And that breakout target there is up at 327.23, with the exception of the old recent peak here at 336.19. And we will get some resistance potentially up at this 299.81 level, which is an old wick we had here. And then once we broke that, we were set to jet there. So we are getting some very, very beautiful rounding action here on this daily. And if I try to delete some of these lines here, even though I kind of like them, I'm going to show you one more thing here before I let you go. I'm making this a little more quick than the last one, but let me just get rid of the TD9 too. Get rid of that TD9. And if we look at this as a nice rounding bottom, then we can see if any of this would make sense as far as where we are right now. So if I ignore that one singular wick there, I'm going to go off the first two wicks and line these recent wicks here of this spinning top up to see what we could do if we did fall. So if we go off of this rounding structure here, let me get rid of that. You can see we double touched right here on the daily, and now we closed way up here so far, which is very nice to see. If we did, if this did turn into some type of M here and then came up in this area, then it would look like our support would be right down in that 221 area, which actually makes sense as well. But looking at this here, if we drew a little support, if I can remember where my support box is here, price range, we can see that as of right now, this area here, which is 249.66, is very good confluence. And this double roughly, we could go from here, we could go from here or here. We could even go from there for now, right? Say we're never going to come back down for a while here. Never say never. Say we aren't going to come back and test this curve again for a while, because if this closes here like this, then we're not going to come back below this 231.05 for some time now. And we'll have to see how that plays out here as far as that goes. But if we do come back down, like I said, we could hit this 225.09 as support, or this 221.68. So just keep those in mind. Now the safest entry would be confirmed support above this line, whether it blasts up here, came back down, catches support as confirmation, because that's possible, then we could head back up. But this is where I'm watching right now, is what is going to happen in the next few hours here. Are we going to be able to hold that support or not? That's where we're at right now. So let's just kind of see if it's going to come below this 231 area or not, and get a close below, because of course if we get a close below, then that would be different. But otherwise you could look at this as a potential bull flag or something. But I think if let me just see where we're at. Are we holding support on this or on these? If we go by this wick here, and we drew that support box like that, we drew this support box off of here, then we can see kind of where we're headed. So I guess that as low as we could go here would be this 230.12. And if we close below that, then we would want to be getting a little worried there. But you can see here, this was the resistance every time we touched it. When we broke it, we did start coming up with some force, but we couldn't hold it. We came back down, double bottomed, came up. Soon as we broke it, we took off, got resistance. So this is the area, then we broke it again. So this would be the first time we can hold it here. So that kind of makes me go, well, do I really feel this is going to hold? Probably not, right? That's kind of how I would think of it as well. And if we didn't, then maybe we would come back down here and bounce off of here, or, and then we could do something like that, which wouldn't look bad at all, right? That would look like a very, very nice juicy W here, if in fact that's what we did. So those are the two scenarios, and those are the areas that I'm watching for. There's no potential, there's no true, we don't know for sure is what I'm saying. We don't know for sure if this is going to hold here, or if we're going to come here, bounce off of here, and hold this finally. So I would look for an entry up in this range here with some type of support above 251. And if you wanted to enter for like a longer term swing, look for some type of entry off of this curve here at 222, 223, depending on if we got there. And otherwise, if you notice that we're bouncing and holding this 230 here after we get some crosses and negative crosses and all this other things here, then we can look for some potential of this being a bounce here. You can kind of see that this RSI and the hourly is starting to roll, but there's no significant proof here that we are actually holding this. So like I said, with these negative crosses here, this looks like it's going to push it down here potentially to 230.12, and then we can maybe start looking at something a little better here. Or we could draw this on the 15-minute and say what we're in here is, or what we're making here looks like, if we go off of this wick and this wick, we could say that this is what we are looking to create right now. And obviously it has some time to play out, and we're just starting to fall to that support to find out if this is what we're really going to be making. And if we do something like that, would we be looking at this as anything else? I'm trying to see here. I mean, maybe, right? Maybe this could be, and this is just speculation, maybe this could be a left shoulder, this could be a head, and then this could be, which, I mean, the neckline probably would be up here, right? And then this would be the shoulder, and then we would blast the fuck off here. And that's a good scenario, I don't mind that either, as a potential scenario. And if that was, well, let's see what this breakout target would be here off of this inverse head and shoulders. If in fact we broke this area here, or this neckline, we would be looking at $281. So, that's a good thought there that we could have happen. And then if we just did some like small fib retracements based off of this 15-minute, right, we could see that our support at the 0.5 fib is at 232.44, which is kind of where we're bouncing off of right now. If you look here closely, we keep bouncing right off of that 0.5 fib. And if we fall below that, then we have our support where we know we can't really hold very often, which is 230. And then we have the 0.618 at 228.27. So we'll have to see if this right shoulder that's being built ends up forming based off of the 0.5 fib here. And that's kind of what I would be looking for personally. And if so, I guess we could do it. I mean, I would say something like that. And then we come down either to this 0.5 or we bounce off of this 0.618, and then we head up for a beautiful break. That's a possibility as well. So, right now we're holding this 232.44. we could hit this 228 or the 230 and then head on up. So just keep an eye on this thing. I feel like it is getting geared up and ready to do some big things here. So I'm invested in this thing. I did just buy some more around that 230 actually, or I bought some down here, and I'm planning on potentially buying some more depending on what this does here. I'm going to keep a very close eye on it and see what we're doing. So for now, that's how I feel about that. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe. Let me know if you want me to do more updates on this in a couple hours and see where we're at. And that's what I'm doing. So, all right, guys. Peace.